7 years ago, Egyptian army tanks backed by anti-government protesters crushed supporters of then-President Mohamed Morsi at Tahrir Square and ousted him and his government a few days later. Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was then elected president in 2014 amid much fanfare. But now, public opinion appears to have shifted.
Look at the poor. Sisi's made a lot of mega projects like building the administrative capital and other similar schemes. But he needs to stop there and look at citizens who can't find anything to eat. There are people who almost died from hunger. 5,000 Egyptian pounds used to be enough for expenses, but now 10,000 isn't enough.
For decades, many Egyptians felt comfortable with the military at the helm. Under the generals, land and education reforms transformed Egypt by lifting millions out of poverty and made the country the strongest military power in the Arab-speaking world. Several neighbors like Libya and Syria followed suit. Jamal Abdel Nasser led the military in overthrowing the monarchy to assume power in 1952. His strong anti-Israel stance and social reforms made him as the most popular Arab leader of his generation, but he was criticized for his crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood. Nasser's secular Egypt even formed a federation with Syria and part of Palestine called the United Arab Republic. It disintegrated in 1961, but Nasserism became an ideology spreading across the Arab world. Nasserism was emulated by Hafiz al-Assad in Syria, Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, and Saddam Hussein in Iraq. They also abolished monarchies and instituted social reforms and cracked down on the Muslim Brotherhood. Nasser died in office in 1970. He was replaced by Anwar Sadat, another military officer. Sadat's assassination in 1981 brought in former Egyptian Air Force Chief Hosni Mubarak. Mubarak's rule saw Egypt's realignment with Saudi Arabia and the Arab League against the rise of Iran under the Ayatollahs. But his reign also began widespread corruption and the decline of social services as poverty increased across the country. And in 2011 came the Arab Spring protests. Thousands paid with their lives, finally ousting Mubarak. But within the year, the military returned and deposed and imprisoned Morsi. Sisi's election a year later led to international criticism of Egypt's armed forces. Rights groups say unlawful detention and torture of political opponents has become common under his watch.
We are always told that the priority is the war on terror. Okay, but that does not mean that we should ignore the human rights situation, the press freedom situation. Freedom of the press, respect for human rights, and a vibrant civil society are equally important for the long-term security and stability of Egypt.
But the West, particularly France and the US, have joined Saudi Arabia and the UAE in turning a blind eye to Sisi's transgressions. That's for Sisi's continued crackdown on supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood that has called for the overthrow of both monarchies. The support means Sisi and the army remain firmly in control of Egypt and its people. Shoaib Hassan, TRT World.